My name is Don Sparks. I live in Strongsville, Ohio. This is my collection. Been doing it probably since 1980, so 40, 45 years, I guess. Started out as just a little bit of a hobby, and then it just kind of mushroomed out. It's a big part of my life. I really enjoyed it, and had a lot of people come here. One thing about a hobby like this is it's a lot of fun. Keeps me out of trouble. My son, Donnie, is following my footsteps. Got a beautiful collection also. Not quite as large, but it's coming along. A lot of people come and they call it a museum, not a collection. But I've always been a sports fan. I played high school sports. Had a couple offers to go to college, but I didn't feel I was big enough, and I wanted to get married, so that's what I did. But after I went to service, I was pretty good running back. I'm not bragging or anything, but in my sophomore year, I made all-county in the Ravenna Record Courier as a running back, and I made the same year, 1958, as a sophomore, the all-county in the Akron Beacon Journal paper as a defensive back. I love the sport, you know. I followed it. I loved Ohio State. I live and die with them and the Browns and the Tribe. The guy that plays on the worst team, the worst player on the worst team is not that much worse than the best player on the best team. So the difference between being a winner and a loser is not only technique and coaching, but it's what's in your heart. Holmes is a very good example. There's other examples also, but he's one that right now, he kind of just wills his team to win. And he's a leader, and like a lot of great quarterbacks are, we have one, Otto Graham, tremendous quarterback. Bernie Kosar, another guy. You willed your team to will. You didn't have maybe all the ability in the world, but you brought the best out in your teammates because you inspired them. You let them, and you put your heart into it, and that's a lot of what sports is all about. I've always liked sports, and started to say, well, I want to get a picture of you know, Bob Feller, or at that time he was my hero back in the late 40s and the 50s, and just boom from then. There's Palmer, Brett, Necro, Jenkins, Seaver, all Hall of Famers, Larry Doby, Billy Williams. Yeah, that's from 1941. And the nice thing about it, I got Ted Williams to sign it. The first piece I got was hanging on that wall that I really went out and bought. It was a picture of the Browns field, and there's several signatures on it, all Hall of Famers, but the time I bought it was, there was only one signature on it, was Marion Motley. And it was sorted, so I bought it. I think it's like $50 or something like that, a long, long time ago, in the mid-'80s. And anyway, so I filled it up now with all the other Hall of Famers. I've got, I think, like 12 signatures on it, and I got every one of those in person. And so that's probably my favorite piece, because I got all of them myself, and it took a long time to do that, but I got them, and it's probably certainly not most my valuable piece, but it certainly is close to my heart. I was fortunate enough to meet a guy named Tony Dick, who was the head of the Browns Alumni Club until Haslam came along, Mr. Haslam, and did away with the Alumni Club. There was a big room in the old stadium down on the lakefront that they called the Legends Room. And it was filled with memorabilia from the 40s and the 50s when they were still in the All-American Conference. Unbelievable. But there's some real old ones in there. What year is that from?
49.
49. Mr. Haslam wanted to get rid of it and turn it into a bar, which is what he did. And so he told Tony, just get the stuff out of here. So Tony had a lot of the stuff that you see in this room, and I bought it from him. These that are signed, see, like Dante. I got the Dante and found that, and I put it in. I was fortunate enough to become very close with Jimmy Brown, God rest his soul. We weren't what you call good friends, but I knew him well, and I had several signings every year with him. And Jimmy was a great guy, and we got along well, and I did a lot of signings with him, so I have a lot of one-of-a-kind Jimmy Brown stuff here. Jimmy said, no one knows this. He said, and they didn't really track it. He said, but I never missed a down. And by that he meant he would never came out for injury. And I said, Jimmy, I said, you know, how did you? He said, well, he said, I always pretended like I was hurt even when I wasn't, because they never knew if I was really hurt or not. I asked him one other question one time. We were sitting having a drink, and how come you never got a concussion? He said, well, did you ever watch my films? He said, I was big and tall, taller than most of the cornerbacks and the linebackers, and I used to beat them up with my arms, my forearms, when they came at me. And if you look at some of his movies from when he played, always using his forearm on one side or the other to keep people off his head. And that's what made him great. I guess the real reason that I started the hobby is that you create memories. And when I walk around this room, a lot of times I see things that maybe I did 15 years ago or 10 years ago. And it brings back a memory, and that's probably the biggest joy that I get out of having a collection. I put a lot of my heart and soul into this room, and but again, it was not because I wanted to make money, because obviously I haven't, but it's, like I say, I spend a lot of time here. I really enjoy it, and you know, I thought about selling it a couple times. I've had a couple real nice offers, but always walked away from them because I just couldn't bear to part with some of these things. This is a picture of my wife, Janine, and the love of my life. And I would say she is the most patient, understanding woman I've ever met in my life. To put up with me collecting all this, spending the money that I spend on this collection. She's been right there, never complained. Only thing she ever says is, when are you going to sell? And I will someday, but it's hard, as I said earlier, it's hard to do. But she's very understanding, and God was very good to me when he sent her my way and walked into my life. So thank you, Janine, I love you. It's hard to bring myself to part with this stuff, but I'm 82 years old now, and I'm not going to leave it to, there's too much here to leave to my son. He has no place to put this, and to try to divide it up and give it to my grandchildren. I got like 17 of them and another 5 or 6 great-grandchildren. It'd be hard to say, well, you can have this and you can have that. So I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this stuff, but I guess eventually I'll just wind up selling it. To be able to buy something like this, it's not, you're not talking about a few $1,000s. A lot of money here, and for somebody to come up with that kind of money, you have to be a real die-hard collector like I was, or else you do it for business to buy it and sell it. Sometimes it's impossible to put a price tag on it, because of the memory you made with your son buying it, or with one of my brothers. Just the memories that you make, and I think as my life is winding down, those memories mean more to you. I look at that Jim Tressel picture over there of Ohio State. He and I talked for like 20 minutes the day I got that done, and I can see why he was a great coach. And those kind of things you can't put a price tag on.
If all this stuff were to end up in someone else's hands, what would you want them to do with it?
Depends on the individual, and certainly it would be his choice. I'm sure if he's just a collector, a pure collector, he's probably going to buy it to sell it. But if he's a man that just happens to be well endowed with money, he may buy it because he really wants to see that baseball with Lou Gehrig and Ruth on it in his trophy room, or he may want to see Jimmy on a signed football helmet in his room or in his office. And he may keep some of it or most of it, but it would depend on the individual and what their motive is. I mean, it speaks for itself. You're going to see some very interesting items. You're going to see some things that maybe you've never seen before, or certainly pictures of certain people you've never seen before, because I do have a lot of one-of-a-kind items in here that, I don't have a lot of pictures that say one of 185 or one of 2,000. Most of my stuff is, I won't say it's rare, but it's scarce, a lot of one-of-the-kind things. You know, so I'm very proud of that, and that's what like it's unique collection. So
If someone were interested, how would they go about reaching out?
the more I think about it, the more I think I've got to sell it, and I've had a lot of people come down here and say, well, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. A lot of people come in and they do what they want to cherry pick, you know. They'll pick this one and that one, but they don't want this or that. So it's a tough situation. So.